Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the April City of New Ulm Park and Recreation Commission meeting. Appreciate all the commissioners in attendance and our guests that made time and had a priority to be here this afternoon. First item of business, we will review the April 9th agenda. This was sent out ahead of time in our email packet. Would look for comments, additions, changes, or approval to the April 9th meeting agenda.
Move adoption.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any more discussion on today's agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to item number 3 on our agenda, be to review and approve the meeting minutes from our last commission meeting on March 12th. Again, those were sent out ahead of time in our packet. Hopefully, all the commissioners had a chance to review them. Would look for any comments or proposed corrections to the minutes.
I move we accept.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second.
And we have a second. Any more discussion on the March 12th meeting minutes? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And probably at that point, also a thank you to Assistant Director Corman for taking such thorough minutes every meeting. We don't, the meeting minutes I take elsewhere are not that thorough, and so appreciate recapping all of our discussion. On to item number 4, a review of the March Department Activity Report. Again, this is submitted every month for our review of programming and updates with the parks and all of our facilities within the Park and Rec Department. Any comments, questions for Assistant Director Corman? Not a shortage of activity. If there's no questions, we will file that with our meeting minutes today, and we'll move on to item number 5, and that's a City Council meeting recap. Either Councilor Christian or Assistant Director Corman, there were a couple meetings and a few items as it related to our Park and Rec Commission. Either of you want to give a brief update?
I can do it.
Great.
At the March 20th meeting, most of you are aware, council chose not to designate any more off-leash dog areas and directed an attorney to draft a leash law ordinance. We accepted the donations, approved appointment of Chris Dalton as our Economic Development Assistant City Manager, accepted $10,000 Neighborhood Healthy Connection Alina grant, and authorized the Minnesota Green Corps application, authorized establishing a Give and Grow donation program. April 3rd meeting, declared the surplus items. We had the first reading of the leash law ordinance change. We did take out at that meeting, some of you might be aware of the cat parks. We're not going to deal with that. That's not in the ordinance, so it's a done deal. And then authorized the additional downtown benches and tables. I don't know if any of you are aware, they did a pilot program last year, the Chamber, and I believe Subway, we put them. And we did get compliments from downtown on it. They're being used, so we're going to install further ones. That's it.
Okay, any questions on the city council meetings? Thank you for the report. On to old business, and item number 6 on our agenda, renew update. And there was a handout. Everyone should have a handout for the guests. If you don't have one, there might be more copies available, but I'll turn it over to Assistant Director Corman to provide an overview of the document that was handed out here related to the renew projects.
Chair Fryer and Commission, the chart that was handed out, the first thing I want to note that this is very preliminary. This is fluid. This is a planning tool. It is not to be construed as anything set in stone at this point. It's simply for us to plan and move forward in managing and putting together the projects and the different phases that go along with those projects. The commission recommended the city council authorize this renew tax bond sale and reimbursement resolution that allows recouping expenses up to 60 days prior to the actual bond sale. That bond sale is scheduled to take place, I believe, June 18th. And what you have in front of you is a more detailed plan of estimated project costs, the bond sale timing, and the overall project timelines. Again, that's a proposed plan and it's fluid. It's subject to modification as needed over the next few years. It's very possible that, say, all the design phases get moved to the initial part of, to the initial first bond sale. We don't know for sure quite yet, but this is kind of the plan that we expect to take over the course of the next few years. We also need to form a committee structure, and what we're recommending is the Renew Committee structure would consist of an executive committee with subcommittees formed under that executive committee. The executive committee would be made up of the city manager, the finance director, the city attorney, building official, park and rec director and assistant, the facility maintenance supervisor, a park and rec commission rep, and a city council rep. And then the subcommittees would be basically set up for one subcommittee for each project. So for the Johnson Park Subcommittee, that would include city staff, a Park and Rec Commission rep, a city council rep, and reps from each of the, one rep from each group. The Aquatic Subcommittee would include city staff, a city Park and Rec, a Park and Rec Commission rep, a city council rep, an aquatic user rep, and then the Rec Center Subcommittee would have kind of two different subcommittees, one with involved in the fitness center, which would include, again, staff, a commission rep, a city council rep, and a fitness user rep. And then the indoor playground project would include city staff, park and rec rep, city council rep, and a MOPS rep. For those of you who are unfamiliar with MOPS, that stands for Mothers of Preschoolers, and they have been supportive in our efforts to, get that project into Renew. And then the Gymnastics Center Subcommittee rep, or the subcommittee would include city staff, a Park and Rec Commission rep, a city council rep, and then a rep from Turner Hall, Newega, and School District 88. The Herman Heights Park Subcommittee would be city staff, Park and Rec Commission rep, a city councilor rep, and a Herman Monument Society rep. And finally, the Dome Subcommittee would consist of the city staff, a Park and Rec Commission rep, a city council rep, and independent school district reps. And by proceeding with this plan, experts can be hired to assist in designing of the projects, followed by bidding and construction. Johnson is expected to be the first package of projects to be designed. Also, construction, obviously, because we're under the timeline, we need to get moving on that project. And so, that is kind of an update as we have it today. Obviously, the numbers in this chart too are also not, they're just strictly estimates at this point. So, I'll take questions if anybody has any.
Thank you for the overview, and the new chart here with the timelines. Open it up for questions from the commissioners here for Assistant Director Corman. I would say the timing of these we have reviewed before, and kind of a sequencing or prioritization. So it seems like that's been incorporated into the timeline. Just want to clarify, another thing I heard you say is, while there are numbers or estimated project costs, these aren't approved budgets necessarily
Right.
for each project. There's going to be probably some change of those numbers as we get into the design and looking at the overall project list. But this, I think, should give all of the commissioners a better sense of timing. And then what I appreciated is on the bottom here to see how this is all connected to the potential bonding capacity from the city. So you can envision when things could be happening in relation to what capacity we have at the city level to not go over the annual bonding limit. Okay. Now, last month, I believe, yeah, we had a recommendation for that process to move forward. There is an action sheet in the packet again today,
Correct.
looking for endorsement support for really the structure probably is the new item today.
Right.
Is that,
Structure and, just, yeah, I guess it's the structure and, this kind of timeline that we can begin this design phasing of our project so we can move forward, so that's what we're looking for.
well, I know there's been support in the past of the commission. Are there any new questions or concerns related to what's been presented here this afternoon? Okay, then I would look for, we get a motion to support the plan as presented and the structure. Okay,
Second.
we have a motion and second to recommend city council proceed with the attached plan and structure. Any more discussion? All those in, Bob, you looking to come up and?
Yeah,
Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, please.
I just want to clarify the structure for the Johnson Park.
Okay.
Bob Skilling's 36 Woodland Drive. Did you say, Cheryl, that there would be a rep from each baseball organization or one rep?
Probably one from each organization.
So it would
one
be-
from the association, one from the Legion.
Okay.
I have an S in my document, Bob. There's plural. It has an S in there at the end.
Thank you.
Reps. All right. So we have motion second. Any more questions or discussion? Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Feel like we should be having another celebration, cheering, excitement. All right. It is exciting for our communities. Thank you all for your engagement and support along the way and for our city leadership. We are on to new business items. Number 7, donations. Included in the packet was a recap, and there were many. So
Yes.
I don't know if you're going to read all of these, but there were many included in our proposed action sheet today. So Assistant Director Corman, if you'll review the donations.
Yes, in the month of March is when Program Supervisor Joey Shugel and myself, we do our annual appeal to local businesses and service organizations for the days of play, and that's where many of these donations come from. We're grateful for those businesses and service organizations for the support of these free events to the community. They are a great opportunity and they serve many, many people, so we're thankful for that. So with that, I will read the donations into the record. The following donations are all cash donations for the 2018 Days of Play. We have $100 from Neibauer Family Chiropractic, $100 from Jensen Motors, $250 from Minnesota Valley Testing Labs, $100 from American Family Insurance, Brian McCabe Agency, $100 from Hoffman Construction, $250 from Citizens Bank, $100 from Erickson Construction and Developing, $250 from State Farm Bob Webb Insurance Agency, $500 from Alliance Bank, $100 from DNA Truckline, $100 from Nas Bush Glass, $250 from Boco Real Estate, $250 from Quick Trip, $100 from Don Sanderson Insurance Agency, $100 from Nierengarten and Hippert, Attorneys at Law, $100 from Coles Wheelborg Chevrolet, $100 from S&S Motors, $250 from Bank Midwest, $250 from New Almeria Chamber of Commerce, $500 from McDonald's, $25 from South Point Financial Credit Union. That's a partial payment, by the way, in case anybody's wondering. $500 from Physicians Group of New Ulm, $500 from Mike's Collision and Tire Center, $1,200 from Alina Health and Newell Medical Center, and $250 from New Telecom. We also received donations for the 2018 Family Fitness Fun Days at the Rec Center. That is a joint effort group with the city, Park and Rec Department, the Newell Medical Center, and the Physicians Group of New Ulm. It is the three entities that support that. Those are free days at the Rec Center that are open to the community. And we received $800 from the Physicians Group of New Ulm and $800 from Alina Health and Newell Medical Center. We received $500 in cash from Sioux Trails chapter of the Minnesota Deer Hunters Association for new targets that will be used for instructional archery, and $100 cash from Friends of German Park and Dorothy Christian for German Park paver stone and improvements in honor of Harry and Dorothy Christian. That sums up the donations for the month.
Okay, well, probably two comments. Had a flashback of a telethon. You could have been back 20 years on TV and was reading all those donations.
I'd like to see you do this every month,
Every
but
month.
it's not asking a lot, but.
And also really proud of the community of responding generously to some great events. So that's great to see.
Yeah, we're at about $12,000 some dollars. We've exceeded the 12,000 mark.
Outstanding. And I think we've, discussed here just outstanding participation and turnout, right, of all events?
Right. Our last event was the teen event, and Joey can speak more to that if he'd like, but there were, I believe, 150 teens there, which normally were kind of in the 50 range.
Yeah,
So-
so more than 150 and over doubled the normal output for just teen age group, which is nice to see.
In one of these family fitness days, how many people show up for one of those?
Usually in excess of 400.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments on the donation report? If not, would look for a motion to accept and recommend to the council acceptance.
Move adoption.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion and second to recommend the council accept the donations. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. On to another area where we could use a donation, Herman Heights retaining wall. New business item number 8. Included in the packet is a lot of information about the current condition and proposed action on fixing the wall. So I'll turn it over to Assistant Director Corman to
Yes.
provide an update, and then I know Ryan's here. He might be able to share more.
We've had discussion over the years, many discussions over the condition of the Herman Heights retaining wall and its existing poor condition, and mainly along Center Street. We have problems with the stone falling off or having these blowouts from excessive rains. And they have become a safety hazard for not just our park visitors, but for our staff who have to mow along those hedges. And so we are recommending eliminating that wall and going to a simple slope along Center Street, similar to the one along Fifth North, where the diocese has their pastoral center. It would be considerably less money to go this route as opposed to putting in block. It would, we'd need, I believe, a small section kind of toward the back side where there's a drop off, but it would be considerably less money to just do that small section. It's kind of behind the restroom area, right, on that hillside there. We have $200,000 in the 2018 budget for this project. And so we're looking to move ahead. And if anybody has any questions specifically, Ryan is here to answer those questions.
Thank you. Yeah, Ryan, so there are many pictures and diagrams, drawings in our packet. Maybe the one from Bolton and Mink, are you able to just give a brief overview of what some of our options are, or where we think we might be able to slope the area versus the retaining wall?
Yes. Ryan Wire, Facilities Maintenance Supervisor, Park and Rec. Thank you, Chair Fryer and Commissioners. If you scroll to page 14 on your online packet, you'll see the preliminary, emphasis on preliminary, design that Bolton and Mink put together for us. There are a few factors involved with this preliminary design. One is maintaining the restroom structure. There are some long-term plans for some of this space up there. Director Schmitz did not want to entertain digging into that whole long-term plan. So we're going to maintain the bathroom facility that's there and try to eliminate the safety hazards and eyesight soreness of the crumbling block. So that's where we ended up with the existing retaining wall, or new retaining wall. So if you look at that picture, you see a dark black line kind of surrounding the restroom. That's the only proposed retaining wall product in that new redevelopment of that hillside. So the rest of it will be accomplished by just grading out the existing. So the darker gradient lines are showing proposed, and the kind of dotted gradient lines that you see kind of behind the dark black ones are the existing. You can see the 4-to-1, 3-to-1 slopes. 3-to-1 gets to be a little steep if you're not familiar with how grades work. 4-to-1 is very maintainable with, normal lawn care mowers that we currently have. 3-to-1 isn't unsafe either, but it's starting to get. We didn't recommend anything bigger, steeper than 3-to-1. So we're gaining that with that retaining wall. The retaining wall is roughly 7 feet tall. There is preliminary pricing to have an ice railing on top of that to prevent any fall or anything like that. And again, so what we're here for today, just to reemphasize, is just to allow us to design this. There's been requests to have different options as far as grass versus some brush cover versus that can all be accomplished in the design phase. We're just trying to get clearance to just get it designed, and then we can design different options, price different options, come back to you with better information than just kind of this one drawing. So we have an estimate just for the design of $21,492.35 from Bolton Mink. It's a very competitive price to design. And what they would do for that price is design different options, help us put together a spec sheet so that we can actually competitively bid this project to get you information, to make the final decision, to eventually do the construction work. So I just want to make sure it's clear. We're not necessarily approving this design today, but we want to approve the design phase. So the other part about what our mentality is, and we can go through this a little later with the design, is this kind of Band-Aid, if you will get us to a point where we can do things in the future. If we so desire to do something more similar to the MLC retaining walls, we can always do that later. If and when we move the restroom, we can regrade that area later, 5, 10, whenever the long-term plans can happen with Herman. It gives us quite a bit of flexibility. The other thing that this will do, it will eliminate those trees that are currently growing there on that hillside. There's a bunch of spruces and a deciduous tree that currently are blocking the view of the monument. And that was one of Tom Schmitz's big desires, is to open up the view of that from Center Street to really showcase our monument up there. So that's kind of the overview, and if you have any other questions.
Thank you, Ryan. Are there other questions, at least at this stage? Again, this is not being presented as a final design, but just a concept to hopefully support action to begin the design work. You mentioned Fifth North as a comparable, so I'm not very good at judging grades. What is that as an equivalent to what we'd be proposing on Center?
Without getting out there, I would guess those are about, the steepest you'll see there is about a 3-to-1.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And there, again, if you look at this, the steepest part will be where that retaining wall location is. The rest of it will be a little bit slighter slope. And then also, I did forget to mention, we do plan on getting rid of those stairs to heaven that go to nowhere. There's no sidewalk at the top of them or anything so that would kind of be the ending point of the side hill remodel. So all that would be just a much gradualer slope than what's currently there now.
Okay, any other questions, comments on the proposal for today? If not, I would look for a motion to authorize retaining the firm Bolton and Mink to help with the project design and bidding work.
So moved.
We have a motion,
Second it.
and we have a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you. Okay. On to new business item number 9, sort of old business as well as new business. Last month we had this on the agenda, and there was a support or a request for Assistant Director Corman to come back with a proposed plan and policy on a healthy vending machine policy for our recreation facilities. Assistant Director Corman, can you provide an update and overview?
Sure. Thank you, Chair Fryer and Commission. As Chair Fryer mentioned at the last meeting, the Commission directed the staff to come up with a healthy vending machine policy. And I worked with Brown County Public Health Nurse Melissa Hoffman to adopt a policy or to write a policy to swap out items in the vending machines at the Recreation and Civic Center with healthier food options. As a community leader, the department has an important role in promoting and modeling healthy food environment for its users. And Park and Recreation departments nationwide are applying nutrition standards to vending machine beverages and food. And being in the health and fitness industries, we need to be encouraging and enforcing or reinforcing this practice and be supportive of individuals and providing healthy choices. She offered lots of resource materials that recommended guidelines and resources and included different examples of healthy vending items. And to just give kind of a brief example, I took a picture of our vending machine and I was looking at what's in there now versus options that we could put in there, and many of them are similar. It's just a healthier version of what's in there. So for example, instead of the traditional fried Doritos and potato chips, you'll find baked Doritos, baked chips, popcorn, Chex Mix, nuts, trail mix. Instead of candy bars, you might find items such as, you might find like whole grain cookies, fruit bars, granola bars, animal crackers, graham crackers, and baked things and items that are of whole grain nature. And so I think that sometimes when we think of that the healthy option, people have this misnomer that it's limited, but really it's quite extensive. When I looked at what's out there and from the resources she provided, and I feel like this is the right direction to go in. And I've also contacted our local vendor who services that machine, and he is open to that. And he has to follow similar standards with the school district right now. And so he is willing to, work with us in those standards, because ours are going to be similar to what the schools are. So we can work together on that and filling the machine and stocking the machine. Beverage vending machines would be stocked with vitamin and flavored water, G2, which is a form of Gatorade, water, diet sodas. And the other thing I wanted to mention too is that the policy doesn't include snacks or beverages that are brought into the building. It's only beverages and snacks that are available in the machines. Another thing that would not be included in the policy is like, our park and rec events, on special events that we have, a couple of them a year. That wouldn't necessarily mean that we're not, we can't do anything special for those kinds of events. So in your packet, I have a policy that talks about the beverages and the snacks provided, and have some guidelines to follow. We would give this to the vendors, and they would, have to follow the provisions that are set in here.
One question, Cheryl. I mean, you said you checked with our local vendor. He was all right with that? Because he also contacted me and a few other people. They didn't like that, I'm not against the healthy choices, but they were like, so now you're dictating to the people. That's it. We only have healthy. Maybe Cindy can answer this. Have any of the programs had where they did a split 50-50 or? That's one question I was asked and I don't know the answer to.
I can comment just a little
Oh.
bit on that. I think that if you go 50-50, it's like if you put a candy bar in front of a child and a granola bar in front of a child.
No, I'll take the
Which
candy
one?
bar. Go ahead.
Me as an adult, I'd be the first one to admit that makes it more difficult. But Cindy can speak to that, or Melissa's here also in the audience. She's the one who helped me with the policy, so.
Cindy Winters, Heart in Your Own Project, and to answer that question, it's up to the council, the commission to decide how they want to do it, but if you do 50-50, it's going to put a lot more oversight on the staff at the rec center to make sure that 50-50 is being followed, so they'll have to follow it and make sure that it's being followed, and that's a lot of extra time, and I know that they're quite busy the way they are.
Okay.
Melissa, anything you would add in terms of kind of research on this and working with Assistant Director Corman on the policy?
Melissa Huffman, nurse with Brown County Public Health, and I also work with a grant program that can help with this work. So very excited to hear that Cheryl was looking into this, and I was excited about the opportunity that this could create, just to have healthier options for our children. We want them to be at a healthy weight, and we know that healthy eating and being active goes hand in hand to help prevent diabetes and heart disease, so there's a lot of benefit to that as well. And I would agree with Cindy that offering that 50-50 or anything other than 100% healthy items does put a lot of more strain on staff at the rec center, and it also makes it a little more challenging for the vendor as well. It's just easier to have that 100% guideline. They're used to doing this already in the schools. The vendor does the schools as well. And smart snack standards have been in place in schools since July 1st of 2014. So this isn't anything new, and you certainly wouldn't be the first park and rec facility to do this. And like Cheryl had mentioned, there are a lot of resources out there that we can share with the vendor as well if there are concerns. And a lot of snacks that meet the smart snack standards and will provide a lot of options for those.
All right, thank you.
Okay, other questions?
Item number 2.4, sports drinks less than or equal to 100 calories. I understand, generally speaking, what sports drinks are, but in terms of a policy, how do you define a sports drink?
Leslie, maybe you could, is there something that, I guess I kind of took this from some resource material. I think that the sports drinks are mostly like vitamin enhanced water, or like a low calorie Gatorade or Powerade, or
They have versions of them that are
yeah, there's
not
different.
loaded up with as much sugar.
Every-
Okay,
and
and so
every-
it's really the definition of not less than 100 calories that really provides some kind of direction and guideline that is tangible and concrete.
Right. And each vendor has its own version of that sport drink is if you want to call it a sport drink. But for the most part, they're mainly referring to like the flavored water, I'm thinking. Flavored water or the vitamin water.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions?
Yeah, you had put in here, I seen shifting the responsibility over to city staff if you don't have a vendor. Is that going to put a lot more work on the city staff?
Well, I don't anticipate that happening because I talked to our vendor, and like I said, Jeremy Drexler is our vendor, and he's open to giving that a try. Like, he already services the machines in at least some of the schools, I'm thinking. I mean, that's what he told me anyway. That's what Jeremy told me, so I don't anticipate that happening.
And the other vendor, Hermel, I know at least services the hospital ones, of which we have.
Drexler buys all this stuff from Hermel, so.
Yeah. So we have ours supplied and serviced.
Through Hermel?
Yeah. Yes. Okay, other questions? Good discussion. Okay. Anyone else here interested in sharing anything? If not, I would look for support, if there's interest.
I'll move adoption.
Okay, we have a motion,
I'll second.
and we have a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. All right, on to item number 10, under reports. Director reports, Assistant Director Corman.
The list you have in front of you is a list of the ongoing activities. A couple to point out in particular. The Civic Center North Arena scoreboard had a goals on shot module installed. There was some repair work done on the Glockenspiel. Today was our first day of summer registration online. I have not had a chance to look at where we're at for sales and where that's going, but summer's always our biggest registration period, and seems like everybody's always excited to get things started for the summer and get their summer planned, even though it doesn't seem like it outside right now. But so that began this morning at, 9 or 10 this morning?
10 a.m. And it was a busy day.
Okay, any questions, comments for Assistant Director Corman? On to Commissioner reports. Any reports from the commissioners? Questions, new ideas? Recommendations for new agenda items? Hearing none. Again, thanks for attendance at this meeting. Good discussion. Our next meeting is scheduled for May 14th, 4 p.m. here at City Council Chamber, and we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone.